When I was 14 years old, I had an intensive workout plan. Abs on Monday, glutes on Tuesday, cardio no matter what. I ate super healthy, salads and smoothies and fruits. You must be thinking, wow, sounds like she's so determined. Where's this speech heading towards? Getting fit, eating healthy, losing weight? It landed me in the hospital. In October of 2020, I was diagnosed with an eating disorder, anorexia nervosa. I'm going to share my journey with you all, providing an insight into how a happy 14-year-old got bested by this terrible, preventable mental illness. Some of you might be thinking to yourselves right now, what, she's just talking about food. It's just eating food, right? Yes, but it's so much more than that. The National Eating Disorder Association found that for females aged 15 to 24, the death rate of anorexia is 12 times greater than all other causes of death combined. The greatest fear of 81% of 10-year-old kids is being fat. There are many biological, psychological, but mainly social factors that inflict and maintain this culture of disordered eating alive. And I'm going to tear down those walls that have kept us enclosed in this aesthetic-obsessed, fat-fearing society. First, I have something I want you all to do. Think of your favorite Disney princess. Just picture one in your mind. Got it? Your princess is probably up in this picture. Look at them. They're all so beautiful and so lovely and so perfect and so skinny. I'm sure you were shocked when I told you that kids are scared of being fat, but really, you shouldn't have been. Our generation, the one before us, and the one before them have all grown up surrounded by the narrative that skinny equals good and fat equals bad. Fat and skinny are both just physical descriptors, yet one is deeply insulting, and the other, a compliment. I'm not blaming the people who have these views, because I had them too. I am, however, blaming the media. The media that took the form of unbelievably tiny waists on my favorite princesses. The media that took the form of movies and TV shows and decided that every actor who puts on a fat suit automatically becomes the comic relief. The media that took the form of models who starved themselves so little kids can look up at billboards and think, I wish I looked like them. The media that took the form of TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, YouTube. You get the idea. The media is why we all fear gaining weight and why I developed my eating disorder. If you don't believe me, though, listen to Frances Haugen, an ex-Facebook employee. In an interview with 60 Minutes, she said that Facebook's own research knows that young women on their app consume content which promotes eating disorders, which makes them more and more depressed. And instead of Facebook simply removing this harmful content and ending this vicious cycle, they knowingly feed it back more just to maximize their profits. The media doesn't care about us. It doesn't care about you. And it definitely didn't care about me. So when that first seed of doubt entered my mind that my body wasn't good enough, I turned to the internet. That seed was planted by the media and it was nurtured by the media with TikTok. Man, TikTok. As I'm sure you all know, videos and trends on there spread quicker than wildfire. In the blink of an eye, there will be thousands more videos under one sound, under one hashtag. And while this is great for trendy dances and songs, it's terrible when the trend is how cinched your waist can get, or what you eat in a day, or body checking, or the countless other eating disorder trends that pop up every other day. You double tap one video, and then your whole feed gets blasted with it. So these malicious, manipulative social media algorithms pounded nonsense into my head. And considering that this was peak lockdown, I was scrolling on my phone constantly. So morning, afternoon, evening, and night, all I saw was weight loss videos, cutting carb videos, exercise videos. And I was consumed by it. So, what did I do? I started to work out. I had this beautiful vision of myself coming back to Abbey Park with a whole new super ripped body. Everyone's pointing at me staring, oh my God, is that Neha? She looks great. But after a couple weeks of exercising, I didn't see any results. I kept looking in the basement mirror after a workout, expecting to see some huge change in my body. But I didn't. If I could go back in time, I would scream at that poor, sweaty girl, "Listen, working out takes time. Muscles take time to grow." But alas, time travel isn't real. So after seeing little to no results in my workouts, I increased the intensity of them drastically. I dropped my initial muscle-building routine for insane HIIT and cardio workouts, knowing this would burn my fat faster. And it did. I started to feel a little stronger and look a little leaner. But unfortunately, I always have been, a terribly impatient person. I had a light bulb moment when I realized eating less will help me lose weight faster. So that's what I did. I started eating less junk food and maybe smaller portions at dinner. But as time went on, I got lazier. So I started working out less and less. But I still wanted to lose weight. So to compensate for that, I started cutting out more and more food. And after 5 or 6 months of this, the working out came to a complete stop. And so did the eating. It was exhausting, living off of spinach and green tea. I was tired all the time. I felt weak, and I missed eating food. I thought to myself, "Neha, you worked so hard for so long. You can start eating again. You can afford to start eating again." But after eating a full snack or a full meal, the guilt was overbearing. I felt so bad about myself, wasting those long months of hard work just for a couple seconds of gratification. I considered starting to work out again and cutting my calories, but the food felt so good in my mouth, so I came up with a plan. Every day, after lunch or dinner or a snack, I'd go to the bathroom to throw up. At this point, it wasn't about losing weight. It was about losing control. Throwing up nearly everything I ate, that wasn't me. That wasn't something I wanted to be doing. That was my eating disorder, coming alive with a mind of its own, determined to ruin my life. It attacked me mentally, physically, engulfing every aspect of my life. It branched into anxiety. My mind was never safe from the constant turmoil, constant thinking about food and eating and throwing up, and guilt and shame and hunger before going to bed, after waking up, while watching TV. All I could think about was food. It branched into loneliness. I had nobody to talk to. Not my friends, not my family. Nobody knew what I was going through. How could they? I was all alone. And it branched into deep moments of sadness, crying on my floor because I thought this would never end. How could I have become like this? How will I be able to survive this way, this hopeless, exhausting way? It was at times like these that I caught a glimpse into why eating disorders have the highest death rate of all mental illnesses, into why 1 in 5 anorexics take their own lives. Because of the total control, the total grip my eating disorder had on my life, I was retaining almost zero nutrition. My hair started to fall out in clumps while I was showering. I had no body fat to keep me warm. I was always cold, always shivering in the middle of July. My body became so used to throwing up, it started doing it against my will. My teeth started to yellow. My period stopped. I heard my heartbeat pounding in my head every time I took a couple of steps because any physical activity was too much. I was feeding on nothing, but my eating disorder was feeding off of me. So when I was at this rock bottom in my life, I went to a sleepover with a couple of my best friends, and it was all fun and games until we all ate dinner together, and I did the routine, "Sorry guys, gotta go to the bathroom," and then I went to throw up. But this time was different, because when I got out of the bathroom, they were all waiting for me with serious looks on their faces, and that's when it clicked, that they knew what I was doing. I was scared, but they were nothing but kind and loving, and they told me, "Neha, you have to get help, and you have to tell your parents." That was the last thing I wanted to do, believe me, but I knew that I had to listen to them, which ended up being the best thing I could have done. After telling my parents, they weren't mad with me like I thought they'd be. Rather, they were sad and worried for their daughter who was suffering alone. They took me to our family doctor, who referred us to McMaster's Children's Hospital, and all I was expecting from this visit was a therapist, maybe a food plan, but then they started to take my vitals and everything. And after reviewing the results, they took me and my dad into a room. And to our shock, they told us that I had a dangerously low blood pressure and an erratic heart rate, and that my liver was at a risk of failure. And then they admitted me into their eating disorder division. I'm obviously overjoyed that I got admitted into this program because ultimately that's what helped me turn the tide against my eating disorder. But I knew deep down that the rest of my recovery, it couldn't be dependent on the hospital, on the nurses, the IV tubes. It was dependent on me, which was why leaving the hospital was so scary. I was certain I would come back into my house and my eating disorder would resume to tear my life apart. I thought that it was stronger than me. But it wasn't. I came back from the hospital and I began to take back control of my life. It wasn't easy, but my recovery, it was driven by a couple of things. The first one being my parents. Without them, without the strong support system they provided for me, I don't think I'd have ever recovered. They never got frustrated with me when I refused to eat. Rather, they were kind, understanding, and compassionate. They always sat and talked to me after meals so I wouldn't have an opportunity to leave and throw up. They used motivational quotes they found. Food is the fuel of the engine of your body. It might sound cheesy to you, but knowing they cared that much about me drove me to recover. The main thing, however, that killed my eating disorder was myself. I was tired of living like this. I missed the girl I was before this mental illness ravaged my life. I noticed two voices in my head at a constant war. My internal voice, which started off quiet, politely suggesting, "Neha, take seconds if you're still hungry." But then it grew, and as it grew, the voice of my eating disorder grew quieter. I got my favorite brownie sundae from Baskin-Robbins, and then I got home, and I didn't throw up. I started to take seconds. I moved the weighing scale from under my bed back to my parents' bathroom. Every time I had an urge to stare at my body in a mirror and scrutinize it, I forced myself to do something else. I began to recover, and I reached the light at the end of a long, long tunnel. While writing the speech, I did a lot of reflecting that I never took the time to do before. Why did I feel I needed to be the sickest I could possibly be before getting help? Why did it take a dramatic intervention? If you sprain your ankle, you aren't going to go smash it with a hammer before going to see a doctor, so why did I go to the most extreme lengths before believing I was worthy of getting help? There's an idea of being sick enough with all mental illnesses, especially eating disorders, because of the horribly inaccurate portrayal they get in the media. All we see are skinny thighs and protruding rib cages, but that is rarely ever the case. An eating disorder can look like eating uncontrollably and not being able to stop. An eating disorder can look like a fat person starving themselves to lose weight. An eating disorder can look like a bodybuilder trapped in an endless cycle of calorie counting. An eating disorder can affect anybody, your mom, dad, brother, sister, your friend. It affected me. I wish so badly that someone had recognized the signs of my eating disorder and told me, "Neha, you are sick enough," when I first thought it to be fine to skip a meal after missing a workout. So I'll be that person for you all. You're sick enough when you skip your favorite snack or favorite meal out of a fear of gaining weight. You're sick enough when you compare your bodies to others. You're sick enough if you feel the tiniest shred of guilt while eating, before eating, after eating. You're sick enough if you feel you need to exercise to justify having food. Recognize the signs with yourself, your friends, your family. Even though they may be harmless, talk about it. Talk to someone. Recognize these harmful relationships with food before anything comes of them. And if you don't need this help, be the change in someone else's life. Be my friends. Be my parents. At the beginning, my eating disorder was a huge monster looming over me, and I was tiny, trembling in front of it. But day by day, I grew bigger, I grew stronger, much stronger than it. Now I'm the monster, and it's scared of me. Thank you very much.